What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and we're going to do our March Madness rankings of the Sweet 16 teams that made it this far. And we have some Cinderellas, we have upsets, some seeds that, we didn't really think would be here, but that's what makes March so great. And we're going to jump into it here at 16 with the St. Peter's Peacocks. And the shoe still fits. The Cinderella team of the year goes to St. Peter's, playing in a gym in Jersey where no one even knew this was a school until this year. The big OT win against Kentucky obviously got them to this stage, being Murray State as well. But now they get rewarded with a very tough and sizable matchup against Purdue, where they do not have any size, and Purdue has the most size in the country, so not a good matchup. But they are the third 15 seed ever to make it to the Sweet 16. But can they be the first seed to make it to the Elite Eight is going to be the big question for these Peacocks.
We got Iowa State here at number 15. Two ugly wins, but that doesn't matter in March. They're moving on to the Sweet 16 after a big win over Wisconsin. Obviously, Wisconsin lost Hepburn, which helped them a lot, but it was basically a road game. So that's still a really good win there, getting by the 3 seed. Now they get a matchup with Miami, a 10 seed, so obviously a really winnable matchup where they could advance to the Elite Eight. They were ranked at 52 in the first round. We didn't think very highly of this team, but they're proving us wrong and a lot of other people wrong with their great defense.
14th, we got the Miami Hurricanes, an upset win against USC where they almost lost that game, and a dominant win against the frauds in Auburn, and now they get Iowa State, so there will be a double-digit seed for sure in the Elite Eight, but we'll see who it is. And I think what makes Miami so great is they were in the ACC, a conference that was on a down year, but they still were a very good team, and they got rewarded with the mid seed, 10 seed, and a team that flew under the radar. They were plus 17 in the second half against Auburn, really took it to them in the second half. And I think that's where the experience comes in for this Miami team. They're an older team. They play old school basketball, and that's why this team is so successful this year.
All right, Arkansas coming in at 13. Not exactly dominant in either of their games, especially this New Mexico State game, which is really ugly, low scoring the whole game. But their defense has really stepped it up late in games to get them to this point. Now they get Gonzaga, and they have players that can show up big and potentially pull off an upset against Gonzaga, but they need Note, Williams, Amude, some combination of those guys to show up if they're going to have a chance in this game, because they can't struggle on offense for long periods like they did their first 2 games.
And at 12, we get the UCLA Bruins. Really escaped an upset in the first round against Akron, and then they took it to St. Mary's, which was a surprising outcome to me. And now they have UNC in the Sweet 16, which should be a very good matchup. But I think what led to the St. Mary's win was their defense really showing up. They have kept both opponents in the 50s. And is this team poised for another surprise Final Four run? I don't think anybody was taking UCLA as the 4 seed even this year to potentially even get to the Elite Eight. We'll see about that because, Baylor was in this region. But UCLA, you got to give them credit in the Pac-12, a year where they had the highest expectations, a top 5 team, and we'll see if they can live up to it with this game against UNC.
All right, our Michigan Wolverines jumping again up to number 11 this week. Beating Colorado State surprised me without Jones, and then Jones only played about 7 minutes against Tennessee, still feeling the concussion symptoms, I guess. Said it was an illness, but no matter what, Michigan dominated the second half, beat Tennessee. Eli Brooks, got to tip your cap to him. 23 points for the senior, hit all the big shots down the stretch. Obviously, Dickinson playing huge for Michigan. But I think that's the key moving forward. If they're going to continue to win, they need another guy to put up 15, 20 points. Obviously, Dickinson's going to get his 20 to 25. But if another guy can step up, like they saw against Tennessee, then they're a really dangerous team.
At 10, we get the North Carolina Tar Heels. Almost blew that huge lead against Baylor, but they did win in OT. And Brady Manick is the reason why that game was so close. After his ejection, that was, the momentum shifted into Baylor's favor. They immediately went on a huge run and sent it to OT. But somehow, some way, UNC escaped and won in OT. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought if it was going to OT, Baylor would for sure win. But somehow, some way, UNC pulled it out, and now they get a matchup with UCLA, a very favorable matchup, as North Carolina is the hottest team in the country coming into the tournament. They still are. And the only thing that questions me is if it's another situation like this, is if we keep going, that bench depth is the huge question mark for UNC, as it really showed that they have 6 guys that really play consistently. And after that, that's why all these turnovers started happening. That's why they let Baylor back in the game, because these guys don't play as much. So if UNC wants to have a successful run here, they're going to have to not have a lot of fouls or get ejected.
Providence. All right, we got Providence here at number 9, a different P team. Providence escaped South Dakota State. Kind of just playing Providence basketball, close game, but they dominated the Richmond game, winning by almost 30. And this was a team that we both had losing in the first round, proving us wrong. And I think they definitely could compete with Kansas, but they're going to have to shoot really well, like they did against Richmond. They're going to have to make a lot of threes. But if it comes down to a close game, you gotta rely on Providence. I think no matter who they're playing, they just have a lot of clutch players. They've had experience with so many close games, and I think that's going to help them a lot going forward. So the key for them, just keep it close into the last 2-3 minutes against Kansas, and you're right where you got them right where you want them, pretty much.
At 8, we got the Purdue Boilermakers, and Jaden Ivey, and their free throw game is to thank for them getting here. Both games, they shot a ton of free throws. They made 27 against Yale, 33 against Texas. And it shows you that they are getting to the line and being aggressive. And I think that trend is going to continue here against St. Peter's. They have the easiest matchup in the Sweet 16. St. Peter's has no size to compete with Edey and Williams. And I think if you're betting, definitely this would be the biggest game, I would say, to put money on, just because Purdue should be heavily favored here as well. But you never know. That magical run could continue for St. Peter's.
All right, Texas Tech goes up 1 ranking again like they did last week. Kind of struggled through the Notre Dame game, but they got it done, and they really know how to close out games. We've seen that in the regular season as well. Their defense really just clamped up at the end of the game there. And now they get a matchup with Duke, a matchup we both think they're going to win, but they're going to have to shoot a lot better than they did against Notre Dame. You can't just rely on your defense when you're playing teams like Duke and then Gonzaga down the road. So they got to figure out their scoring a little bit. And if they can do that, then the national championship is their ceiling.
At 6, we got the Houston Cougars, probably the second hottest team in the tournament. Being a 5 seed, I don't think too many people saw them getting past even Illinois. But here they are in the Sweet 16 facing Arizona in a matchup that I think is going to be a lot closer than people are going to think. Because they keep proving these doubters wrong, and could they make it to the Final Four yet again on a surprise run? The ceiling is definitely there for the Final Four. They're a hot team. They're playing without their 2 best players, and they're still making this run. And that's why they're here at number 6.
All right, Arizona drops down to 5 after they really struggled against TCU. Tried to give that game away there at the end, but they really figured it back out in overtime, clutched up and got that big win over TCU. Now they move on to play a really hot and really difficult matchup in Houston. And then you got probably Villanova after that, or Michigan. But either way, they are getting huge performances from Benedict Mathurin and Christian Coloco. But somehow they've still played a couple close games, not only against TCU, but in the Pac-12 tournament. So they got to figure out how to put teams away, or these better teams they're about to face are going to pull off an upset. So that's what they got to work on.
And at 4, we got the Duke Blue Devils. They really almost got upset by Michigan State, but they came clutch in the last minute or so. And the defense came out to play as well, as they dominated inside in that last 4 minutes. But we got to give Duke credit where credit's due. They're making that run yet again in the Sweet 16. It wouldn't surprise me if they get to the Elite 8, but that Texas Tech Duke matchup is probably my biggest coin flip here. Duke could win if they shoot well, but Texas Tech can win if they play good defense and limit Duke's 3-point shooting. So it's really just toss up, but congrats to Duke, for at least getting Coach K not a first-round exit in his last season.
All right, Gonzaga drops down again here to number 3. Don't let that score fool you against Georgia State. That was close for 30 minutes. Georgia State starting center was injured. That could have went. I mean, who knows what would have happened if he was playing. And then Memphis, Gonzaga trailed by double digits in the second half and came back to pull that one off. So they're not dominating by any means their first two games, and it's only going to get more difficult from here as you have Arkansas coming up, a really good defensive matchup, and then Texas Tech or Duke, both really great teams. So they gotta figure out how to start out games a little better than they have in the first weekend, or they might not make it to the Final Four. But that 1-2 punch of Timmy and Holmgren is a scary matchup for any team.
At 2, we got the Kansas Jayhawks. And this is a team I think nobody, really picked to win it all this year. I would say they are the most underrated 1 seed. They are the 3rd best 1 seed this year coming into the tournament. They've done everything they've been asked this year. That 30-6 record is no joke. I mean, they got a matchup with Providence. It's a favorable one. If they can limit their 3-point shooting, I think Kansas will easily move on. That's going to be the big question mark for this Kansas team is can they play good enough defense to limit that shooting where Providence can't have easy baskets. But Hibachi, I think that's going to be the key factor yet again in the Kansas victory.
All right, a lot of you guys might not agree, but we have Villanova here at number 1 going into the Sweet 16. Easily got through Delaware and had a big lead on Ohio State until there were about 3-4 minutes left. Ohio State made a big run, but even then they only cut it to 4 or 5, and then Villanova, their free throw shooting just kicked in. And we have them at 1 because they haven't really struggled outside of that brief stretch against Ohio State. Obviously, the 3-1 seeds that are left all struggled against 9 seeds, and Villanova put away a 7 seed by double digits. So going forward, we think they're number 1. They get a rematch with Michigan of the 2018 national championship. And I think they definitely have the recipe to upset Arizona if they match up in the Elite Eight.
And that's going to be it for the video today. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel. For those 100 subscribers, we are going to be doing our giveaway soon. So make sure you guys are watching our videos and stay up to date with that. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.